Namaskar. I think we are at the top of the hour.
Okay.
So let us start. First of all, uh, I would like to welcome Shraddha ji for this beautiful conversation. And I just want to inform all the audience. Let me inform all the audience that we have online audience which are available on your screen. We have a hub at IIT Gandhinagar where large number of students are watching us. We have people on YouTube who are watching us. We have people on webcasting who are watching us, and we have the institute at Rajasthan who are also with us today. Shraddha is with us. It will be very interesting discussion today, ladies and gentlemen. For the topic is digital transformation of digital startup, and Shraddha is is attached with startups, and I don't know. I personally feel that the name which I would like to give to Shraddha is that she is mother to all the startups in the country because whatever a child need for growth, that is what I think Shraddha is providing to them. Shraddha is right now is the entrepreneur and founder and CEO and chief editor of a company called Your Story. And let me tell you that startups, they feel very happy when their story, their background, things are getting published and found very, very interesting. Shraddha is has a background uh, with initially with the journalism, and she has worked with CNBC TV 18 for a long time, and she has also contributed on several articles on several places. She is a well-known entrepreneur, and she is a well-known, you can say, sympathizer for all startups in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I just give the background. Today, as per the report available, India has 77,000 plus startups which are registered with DPIIT. There may be a lot of startups which are not registered. So that number is, of course, we can't just count, and which is supposed to be the third largest ecosystem of startups globally. And the growth is fantastic. Last year itself, we have, or this year itself, we have 14,000 plus startups which have registered in 2022 alone. Ladies and gentlemen, with the COVID-19, the conversion of the startups for digitization has gone up like anything. And it is not only the startup has got the breadth for this, but I think the consumers which have got requirement and they pushed for the demand for this, and that is how the growth is coming. I just tell few areas where digitization has worked the startups. For example, e-commerce. Flipkart, Nykaa, Snapdeal, they are growing fantastic during this. In the health sector, you must have count the Pharma Easy, CureFit, MFine, etc. They are growing fantastic. There is a projection in the fintech, that is Policy Bazaar, Bank Bazaar, Phone Pay, that they may be $106 billion by 2025. Similarly, AdTech has coming like an academy is there, Baiju is there, Learning Delight is there. So they are also growing, and we expect that their total business will be around 30 billion in next 10 years. Then there are several traveler tech, which every one of us use them. Yatra, Go, Abigo, Oyo. Uh, they have come up very well, and don't I don't want to tell about the food which you are offering every day, ordering, or logistics like the delivery vary and all those things which are happening. So I think there is a huge buzz which is going on about the startup, and the whole digital economy is growing. We in the government has put a total target of $1 trillion digital economy by 2025-26. We are looking at a fantastic uh, days to come. So let us start, not taking much time with Shardaji. Shardaji, welcome again to IIGF 22, and thank you very much for your joining and your team joining with us. So my first question is that let us listen from you. What is your take on digital transformation of startups in India? Over to you, Shardaji.
Thank you so much, Anil sir, for having me, and it's a great opportunity to be talking to you. You know, I come from the business of telling stories, so I would say that if I have to say digital transformation and uh, and the role of startups and what startups have done, then I would say to everyone watching that we are all a witness living in an India. I don't know at what ages and who all are watching, but when we were growing up in our schools, at least in my school in Patna, in Bihar, uh, we didn't hear the word startup. For us, the option was either you go to medical, you do engineering, or you go to civil services. And now, sir, I am very happy to share that I was recently talking to entrepreneurs in Patna, and wahan pe they are around 600 very very interesting startups. And when they are talking in schools, there is a conversation happening कि अभी हमें startup करना है. And that I would also take this opportunity to say that somewhere we forget to realize that a lot of things have come together to make that happen. And one of the most important things I would give credit, and not because I'm speaking in a government forum, but I think all of us are witness that in when 2014, 2016, when Prime Minister, at the Independence Day speech, talked about Startup India, somewhere it reached all the corners. And I come from Bihar, where we are very conservative. The only thing we do is study and to get regular jobs. There is a wind of change, and that wind of change is, and to me digital transformation is, that everyone today is an equal. Everyone today is has the opportunity to live their dream, and that's the India that we are living in. And also the second thing is the infrastructure right now. To build anything, to do anything, we have 800 million mobile phone users. Where else in the world can you find that? Third, the capital that we have to invest and to support startups, I'm talking from the private venture capital space, is around $80 billion of dry capital to invest in startups. We have so many policies that have come in to support startups, and I would say that India is brimming with hope, innovation, and we saw that during pandemic. In fact, I had only covered, every day we were talking to startups who were coming up with so many solutions. Sorry, my dogs are barking. Sorry for the noise. Is They were coming with so many solutions. There was a solution where how do you transport the test in the most efficient manner. There were vaccines trials happening. There was a startup which has come up with ventilator at low cost ventilator. So you name any spectrum of our society today, startups are innovating. And as very recently our honorable finance minister was here in Bengaluru to talk at one of our events, and she said to 5,000 entrepreneurs who were present that you are not startups. The word for startups today is that each one of you are economic freedom fighters, and you are the economic freedom fighters of India. And what our honorable prime minister says, that this is the decade, 2020 to 2030 is going to be decade of India, where India and all of us have the opportunity to create an equal India, a fair play India, an India where there is no division, there is no boundary, there is no haves and have nots. And it's up to us, all of us as startups, as individuals, to make that happen. And sir, I would say I'm very uh, not just bullish, I feel very proud that I'm in India of today, where there are so many startups coming up and there are so many opportunities to go. If I look across the world, earlier people used to go to US, Europe, but I would say that right now, if there is a land of opportunity, then it is India, and there's a lot to do. And to everyone watching, and if you're students, then just see, go and build, because you can build your dreams and you can create massive impact. We're living in that country right now.
Thank you, Sharda. Thank you very much. And we know that We are living in at a land of opportunities today, and not only we Indians, the whole world is looking at India and how India is shaping themselves. And we have seen that wherever there are economic depression, world over, that is fine. But I think the whole world is looking at India's growth, and that growth is actually contributed by startups, SMEs, MSMEs, all those things. Uh, Shraddha, you remember that when in one of the interview with Femina, you said that people all around are doing great things, but they are not covered and they are not famous. The fact that there are people who are living at the corners and they are not picking up the things. And today, when we are talking about the startups, uh, I think the reason which I can contribute for their growth and their prominence, which is coming up, is because of the rising confidence of investors in the startups. Second, improving the technical advancement of various technologies in the world. And lastly, most important is the promising government schemes which are helping startups to have a positive outlook at this. So now I have a few questions from you, I think, which our audience would like to hear is that what you feel is the essential work which are required in digital formation from startups which are in IT sector and the startup which are non in IT sectors, but their digital transformation, I think, is important to run their business. Shraddha?
Yes, sir. Sir, before I answer that, I also want to mention here your role, the work that you are doing, and I have known you closely. How genuinely you support startups, and you want people, and not just in the major cities. You want startups from small towns and cities to be present, and the work you're doing with Nixie, because that genuinity, that authenticity comes across, and I would be amiss if I don't call out. And then that is one of the very key components that startups today need, be it in IT or non-IT sector. We that encouragement and that support which you and Nixie is doing. I wanted to call that out. What I would say would startups would need in the IT sector would be, again, a lot has already been done, but I would say that what needs to be done is more collaboration, more opportunities of collaborating with the government. And I would say maybe also, like we have the fintech, with UPI, what government did with UPI, we have a very solid fintech startup ecosystem in the country. If you see, a lot of our unicorns are in the fintech ecosystem. Now there is something called health stack, and there are a lot of interesting startups coming in health stack. How can we, government, with the data, the access of data that they have, can create more innovation in different segments, be it in education, because again, education, I feel today is again becoming very governed. Somewhere there is equalizing with the tech, but again, education is becoming very cla- hierarchical with the money and the payment that you have to give to all the digital, tech players and everyone. How can we create a fair play? Because I think there is a lot of innovation that can be done in edtech, a lot of innovation that can be done in infrastructure. So I would say that, can we open data sets in different spectrums for the IT players to build solutions on top of the data sets? So I think that would be one very big thing that we could do. For example, building innovative health. We've all come out of pandemic, and hopefully we don't have it, we don't see it. But what, I'm imagining a world where all the hospitals, with the data sets that they have, can they be provided to startups to build innovative solutions, to build more different kinds of vaccines and solutions? So that, I think, would be of great use, because this is, we are sitting on that. I would say that for the IT. For the non-IT, again, I want to call out, which I see as a huge thing in the digital public good, is the role of ONDC. ONDC, the way it is trying to democratize and get small D2C brands, small startups, digital to first consumer brands on the platform, so that they can have level playing field. And it's not that if you are the most funded startups, your products, your what you are building or selling gets prominence, but everyone gets an equal chance. So how can we get the small voices? And mostly in the non IT, I would say that there are so many phenomenal women who are building goods and services which they are trying to sell online or get online. How do we create more equal play for them? Would be a great opportunity that we could focus on.
Shraddha, you have touched very important point. Let me inform you that today the Ministry of Electronic and IT is now spreading digitization with the help of digital platform. And digital platform is one of the focus area in coming G20 discussions with other countries also. And data collection, processing and analysis, decision making, think that is the most important requirement of today's startup system, which is going to work. But at the same time, let us look at some negative aspect of this also. Recently, you have seen that there was an attack, cyber attack on AIMS, which took huge number of days and which has really suffering with that. So, what are your what do you feel actions are required or precautions are required to be taken by the startup to avoid these kind of situations? Because once they are growing, their network is growing, their customers are dependent on this, their economy is dependent on this. And if something called cyber attacks comes or cyber fraud comes, then it becomes depressing for them also. Shraddha?
So, sir, first and foremost, I would say when it comes to security and cyber attacks, we are all of us as humanity. I wouldn't say just for the Indian startups. All of us think that it will happen to someone else and it will not happen to us. So, it's also a mindset where the focus from day one is not given to data security and privacy, and that awareness is the most important thing that needs to be built in, that it can happen to you. It's like we don't buy insurance because we think that the health risk will not come to us. So a lot has to be done in terms of building that awareness, that it can, and today it can happen to any one of us. And we have seen in the last 2 years some of the prominent startups who had massive cyber attacks. Sir, I would say, I would recommend that we should have a national startup committee, cyber security startup committee, because there are a lot of very interesting startups in the cyber security space operating out of Pune, Bengaluru, Delhi. How do we bring all these startups together and use their collective intelligence infrastructure, the kind of intelligence that they have built, to collaborate with the government and see that these solutions, the solutions that they provide at a very basic minimum cost, can be given to all the 77,000 startups that we have. So that would be my recommendation, because they are all working in silos. They all have their own companies. How do we bring them together under one panel and then impanel them so that any startup anywhere building can get them at a very low cost? Like, an equivalent of what we've done as UPI stack, India stack. In that India stack, I think we should have a cyber security stack.
Shraddha, I think it is a very good recommendation. And I think the question here is that everybody should undertake a cyber audit on regular basis of the system, what they have done, and definitely whatever help is possible, startup to startup, and maybe from the government to startup. Definitely, this is a requirement. Before we go ahead, Shraddha, there is a question from the audience to you. What do you think about the impact of startup ecosystem on Bharat? Are they able to bring a rural-centric solution which help them move forward along with Digital India?
So that's a very good question. So I will give the good and not so good answer. So one is that I would like to call upon one startup here based in Bengaluru called One Bridge, which has 15,000 rural nodes connected to them, and they do last mile delivery of all these big e-commerce player digital solutions to Bharat, to villages, and they have done phenomenal job. I also want to call upon a company which I saw yesterday, Oneverse, which is metaverse for rural India. So what they do is that they have Oculus. So I am a farmer sitting in a village. I don't have to travel to a big town to buy something. The product I can see in the metaverse and make the purchase. So there are a lot of solutions coming for Bharat, and there are a lot of interesting startups who are building those solutions. And because nobody can afford to ignore Bharat, that's a strong base, user base, that one has to build, provide solutions for. So yes, startups are looking and working at that. Having said that, that's one part. Having said that, have we done enough as startups today to go to Bharat and actually solve a lot of pain points? I feel it's still early days, because if you see, the last 10 years have been about building blocks for Startup India in terms of building the infrastructure solutions, which have come mostly to large cities. And I think there is a lot of opportunities to build for Bharat, which is also called Middle India. The new word I'm hearing is also Middle India, solutions for Middle India. And if any one of you are thinking of building, then I think there is a market. There is a VC fund which only invests, Arkham Ventures, which only invests in startups building for Bharat. So a lot needs to be done, and there's a huge opportunity to build that. Having said that, there are startups like One Bridge, One Works who are doing these building for Bharat.
Thank you, Shraddha. Shraddha, we know that you belong to Bihar as your background, and looking at the economy and the society of Bihar, I think you have the emotions and sensitivity of Bharat with you always when you are working. Thank you very much. Shraddha, our Prime Minister is talking about building up the whole country in next 5 years and very big plan for 2047. That is basically what we are calling is the Amrit Kal has come after 75 years, and we are going up to 100 years. Now, in building those up to 100 years and where we want to lead the whole world in all areas, what contribution do you feel that startups can make in making this country as at that level where our Honorable Prime Minister desire and dreams of? Shraddha?
Sir, I would again quote our Honorable Prime Minister only. He had said recently that the startups are the backbone of Indian economy, and they will play a huge role in driving hope and innovation in India. In 2047, which we are saying would be also India's $40 trillion economy, I see startups contributing not less than $8 to $10 trillion in that 40 trillion dollar economy, hope, mission, purpose that we are going after. But the wish, sir, I have, and I would like to call that out, that today we still have very low participation of women in driving the startup story, the India's the economy story. So I think we need to build a lot more support infrastructure to get women into this story. And I would like that we focus on that, because that can actually accelerate the dream, the vision, the outcome that we are aiming for.
Great. And as a woman, I think the sensitivity which you have brought up. But let me tell you that now the participation of women in Indian economy is increasing. We have seen that more and more women are coming in the workforce. We are also seeing more and more women are coming on the board of various companies. So startup, we hope, and we have a lot of very good examples of the startup like Nika, who is headed by a woman, and most of the employees are women. And there is no doubt that India got freedom only because of the women. So I think the next phase has to be women. Thank you, Shraddha. I think it is going to be interesting. So before I'll ask any question, let me open up the space for the audience in case you have any question from our guest Shraddha today. Please raise your hand in case you want to ask question directly, or you can put your question in chat also. We will wait for that, but in the meantime, let me continue to the conversation. Basically, what we have understood that digital economy has gone to around 250 million now, 250 billion, and maybe touching around 300, 350 million. But we expect to have 1 trillion dollar digital economy, and you have said that they are expected to have 8 to 9 billion contribution by 2047. So what do you feel that with $1 trillion economy, digital economy, which we are expecting by 2025-26, uh, in what way the startups can contribute on this, Shraddha?
So I would say that startups, uh, and I would take it a little larger than the startups are. We have a large population of youth and a large population of youth which will be coming into the workforce, which would be looking at opportunities and job. So I would say that startups playing, like, I would like to call out a startup, a unicorn startup called Zworks, which is a manufacturing unicorn startup, one of the very few ones. So we would need startups to start actively looking at core fundamental sectors and building businesses over there where a lot of people can be employed also. Because if we because in the next 10 years we will have at least 80 to 100 million new job seekers, and if startups can absorb that and be job creators and look at fundamental core sectors where they can build innovation and employ large number of people, then there is no brainer that we will be hitting the goals and the milestones that we have. And we need more startups like Zworks, Infra Markets coming up, and building their businesses. And I'll also say that's a, India has to be a very good, we were very good in early 90s, if you see, with Infosys and everyone coming in the IT services. I think now we should look at also designing chips and infrastructures, looking at designs, looking at being product managers. I think that's a skill set which the world will ask for, the world will look for, and India has the opportunity to become the destination for that. And I would say that startups could look at that opportunity, and everyone could look at that opportunity, because that will again give a lot of employment and a lot of value creation.
You're right. I think this is the way Taiwan has built up as the manufacturing hub of the whole world. And every house is manufacturing and contributing to the overall economy of Taiwan. This is a very good input, Shraddha, which you have given a message to all. There are certain questions, so I'll read all the questions to you, Shraddha, and then you can answer together, right? So there are a lot of questions. I think a lot of interest you have generated in your discussion. The first question is, according to you, what are the different areas startups shall focus in the coming times, which could be turning point for India? This is one question. Second question is, startup incubator ecosystem has been on a constant rise. How do you think we can leap for the growth of an early stage startups? And the third question is, an early age startup are moving to fundraiser even before being profitable. Do you think that this is the right way to do? This alter the core fundamentals of the business. And another question is, do you think that new cooperative movement would help the rural India to come up with more startups with participative approach? So all these four questions you can answer together. Over to you, Shraddha.
Yes, sir. So the first question from Nitin, I would say, what are the different areas startups should focus on? Again, I said core infrastructure, core livelihood solutions, the basics, which is in the startup world. You hear investors calling first principle thinking. First principle thinking, if you see, then there are a lot of things that can be solved. And if you start not from 30,000 but ground level analyzing what are things that can be solved for, be it in education, be it in healthcare, be it in infrastructure, be it in convenience, then there's a lot that can be done, be it solutions for Bharat. I think those are the opportunities. And of course, sustainability, climate change is going to be a very, very big, real thing impacting all of us in the next 10 years. And I think that a lot of focus and a lot of building is required over there. So that's a good opportunity. So that's first. To Sharad, the question has been on us. How do you think uh, early stage startups? I think, the learning curve, invariably have been tracking this space for last 14 years, and all startups more or less make the same mistakes. How can we condense the learning curve and make it shorter, so that we all don't go and make the same mistakes and go through the same. So can we have more learnings, and can we have more learnings from people who startups back into the ecosystem for the early stage founders, the real practical ones? And that should be a solution. And just I'm plugging in that we're launching a program in January, learning education program with all the founders and everyone. uh, uh, so I'm moving to fundraiser. Yes, so again, there is this whole thing that startups are raising funds. Of course, last 2 years, there's a lot of capital that has come in. We've seen more than $100 billion being invested in startups, and a lot of high valuations without profitability. Of course, there are both sides to it. If you're building a product, pure play product, tech startup, then sometimes you need that initial capital to build. It might take 1 year, 2 year, 3 year to get your product market fit. So yes, you might not be profitable. Look at the great, companies like, I would say, like WhatsApp. For many years, it did not make money, right? But today, it is a product which everyone uses. So if you're building that, then yes, you need a lot of capital. But yes, you just don't have to raise funds. Personally, if you ask me, I don't believe in fundraising to build your venture, because you have to get your customer first, you have to get your product market fit first, and then if you need growth capital to scale your idea, you've seen the market product market fix, then go and raise money. Because a lot of startups raise too much capital, then they have to run very very fast, and then things break down. बिकॉज नीति विधि का विधान है, एक चीज एक तरह से ग्रो होता है. You can't over inject a growth, and whenever you over inject with capital a growth, mostly it does not work. Sooner or later it falls down. So I agree with you, but one has to use caution, not saying that not raise, because if you're building a product business, then you might have to raise capital right way. Then the last one is, yes, cooperative movements. Absolutely. I was thinking that, there is this public private partnership. There should be rural cooperative partnerships with startups that should happen. And a lot of them are doing. Look at Cropin, look at Dehat. They are actually partnering with at panchayat level with farming organizations at local level to build solutions for farmers. And that is a must and a best way to go about accelerating impact and a growth. And I think the good thing is the mindset is changing, because I think what is startups at the end of the day, startups is an attitude, it's a mindset that we will work together collaboratively, not have a walled garden, and we'll be open to partnering with each other to succeed and create impact. I think that's happening. And I'm again want to call out that I've been running this for 14 years, and I want to say that with this government, I see that the doors have opened, and that's at the grassroots level organization to at the top level. And I think that will lead to a lot of change, which we will see and which we are seeing.
Thank you, Shraddha. Of course, talking to you, we never feel that we close the discussions. We would like to continue to talk to you, but there is a time limit, and it is not possible for all of us. But friends, you can reach out to Shraddha. She is on WhatsApp, she is on Facebook, she is on LinkedIn, she is on Twitter, and it is always interesting to talk to you. And startups have a very bright future because government support, because of the ecosystem which is developing, and because of the technology which are supporting. And at the end, definitely with the mother like Shraddha, who is supporting them from all sides to grow up and do it. Wonderful talking to you, Shraddha, and thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, and all the
Thank
very
you.
best to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank